So, welcome to the October 2023 community update. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining and taking the time. And I would say let's jump right into today's community AMA. Today, Lucas is not going to be here, but Kai and I are standing strong. Lucas is head over heels into work, so hope that's fine for you, but I think we'll just manage just fine. So let's go right into the community update, the shout out to the community. And we have two new joiners to this list, which is Vic and Sartaj8449SS, and Candy Jesus, obviously, standing strong and being very active in the community. So thank you very much to all of you, doing an amazing job. And it's really great seeing all of you being so active on all the socials and flying the Onino flag. So thank you very much for this month, and thanks for standing strong. So, as every month, we do a little what is Onino, and this month again, just briefly, I think it's interesting for new joiners. Everyone else will know exactly what it is already. So, Onino essentially is two things. On one hand, the Onigraph, the Onino graph-based blockchain, and on the other hand, the tokenized fundraising. I go into the Onigraph briefly and then to the tokenized fundraising because they seamlessly flow into each other. So the Onigraph is a, like I said, graph-based blockchain. So it is a combination of a blockchain model and a graph model. And we focus on three things. One is privacy, the other is scalability, and the other is identity, because we have found out that all the blockchains out there, the other frameworks, those are the three things hindering blockchain mass adoption in industry, for example, and real-world use cases. And through many talks and discussions, we found out that those three things were essential. And so we're approaching them, implementing them right into our network and making it the, in our opinion, best network out there for real-world utility and industry use cases. And tokenized fundraising is another thing. It's a service where we essentially onboard the companies that will later on use the Onigraph, and we help them go through token sales and creating a token-based or blockchain-based business and go into everything from business model, financials, and everything they need help with, and help them to set up essentially most of the times it's a combination of Web 2 and Web 3 service or company. And the goal is to make them ready for the Web 3 and using the Onigraph. And the cool thing is that those companies we help there will later on use the Onino network, the Onigraph, so they seamlessly flow into each other. And this is why we have those two services, or with the Onigraph, a development project at the moment. And there's going to be some interesting news regarding the testnet for the Onigraph later in this presentation. So, and with this, I'll give the word to Kai, who's going to talk about the Onino blockchain.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alex. So as you guys probably can already think of, the Onino blockchain is still under development. We are going head over heels to get the thing up and running as soon as possible. But we still have two new news for you to share with you today. So the one thing is that we're going to expand our development team. We're currently in talks with several very experienced blockchain development experts and blockchain architects. So obviously, we as a team have made our own experiences and are probably quite good programmers, but still nothing beats experience, obviously. So we are currently in talks with people who have already built several blockchains from scratch and have conceptualized several architectures for well-known blockchains, which can't drop the name for, unfortunately, yet. But yeah, we are definitely in talks with very interesting people, which we are planning to hire to expand our development team even further. Let their experiences flow into the construction of our network. But more on that we can hopefully announce soon. But right now we're still in loose talks, so nothing we can publish yet. But you can definitely stay tuned on the development team side. There will definitely be some major changes to that and major expansions to that. And then the second thing I want to share is that we are going to open up the testnet registration on October 16th, so very soon. We'll create a form where people like you, our community, but also everybody else out there can, so to say, sign up to be one of the early supporters of the Onino network, of the Onigraph. There'll be basically three, I would say, pillars that people can contribute. So on the one hand, there will be testers. Will be able to sign up as a tester, which will basically lead to that you are being invited to, so to say, secret beta tester groups later on. And we'll be basically using you as a tester then to closely examine the network, see if everything works smoothly, identify any bugs that might come up, and so on. Then on the other hand, we will also already reach out to validators. That means people who, so to say, take a certain amount of ONI, stake that, and then run a node in the Onino network themselves. So basically the people that will be essential to holding network up and running and basically be forming the network in the end. This will also be open, the registration from October 16th. But we're also looking out for builders, which means people who actually want to build their own decentralized applications on the Onigraph, and also for potential builders, or even if it's just you, a community member who has slight development experience and says, hey, I have a cool idea which you want to build on the Onigraph, that will also be your chance to sign up already right now. So yeah, as you know, the development of the tester will still take a while, but we are already right now, in 2 weeks, are opening up the gates for testers, validators, as well as builders to already register, stay closely in the loop with us, and so to say, become a really, really early contributor and building block of the Onino network. And yeah, exciting times ahead. We'll also inform you in more detail about that in the following blog post that will come soon. So definitely stay tuned for that. Registrations will be open soon. And with that, I would hand back to Alex for the tokenized fundraising update.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kai. Yes, we have interesting news. Let's see what is on the next slide. And this is a new client. We announced it to you a couple of, I think in the last community update or the one before, we announced to you that we had a new customer, but we weren't able to talk about them yet. Now we are. It's WorkBuddy. WorkBuddy.chat is their website. So if you want to join there, have a look at it. And this one's very interesting because it's not like Kadaiko and the other customers that we have, in that they have a newly formed business and are just starting up. WorkBuddy actually has a working application already. And the founder also is very experienced. I think you can say he's a serial entrepreneur and business angel himself, has a lot of experience in the startup and company world. And it's even greater for us to work with such a diverse landscape of companies and to work with WorkBuddy in this case, a company that has already a lot of experience. But experience in what, you may ask? This, I think, is extremely interesting because they have an application which is in the, you see here, in the field of hiring. And the cool thing is that the hiring field has been pretty much unchanged for a long time. You have the applicant side and you have the company, and the applicant is looking for a job. The companies are looking for employees. And you can do this through a static website on your page, or you can do this through pages like Indeed, for example, or Stepstone, or all the other career pages. But it's always a little hard to get a real impression of how is the job exactly at the company you are applying at. And what WorkBuddy does is that they give you the option to chat with people working at this company that you're interested in. You can do this anonymously, or you can do this with your real name. That's totally up to you. And the idea is that you have the ability to ask people that are working at this specific company in question any question you want. Be it, for example, do you really allow home office? How is the food and drink selection at the office? How are employees? How is the team? How are superiors? You can essentially ask them any question. And being anonymous is the cool thing that it doesn't really affect your application. So should you have an application but have questions that could be seen negatively for your application, you can ask them here in the realm of anonymity. And that's a pretty cool thing. And this, what I explained to you at the moment, is the V1, which currently works without any blockchain tech. But thinking forward, they had the idea and the vision and the goal to venture into the AR world, and with the AR world, really into the metaverse. And through this, they had a look at how could they do that, how could they work on incentive mechanisms. And that's where we met and showed them what a token can achieve and how they can implement a token on one hand to help them create the version 2 of their application that's currently out there and already has users and companies. And on the other hand, help them do a fundraising. So that's what we're going to do. We are helping them on one hand on integrating the token as a means of incentivation and transaction handling for their future product, and in the shorter term as a means of fundraising. And we'll go into much more detail, I think, when the project itself is going to announce all that. and we will, of course, have an AMA and all the information. But if you want to stay tuned, go to the WorkBuddy.chat page and have a look at what they do, and join a newsletter, and just be active following our socials. We will be announcing more information on WorkBuddy soon. So additionally to that, we are doing a positioning update. We have teasered it in the last community update as well, I think. And what we're doing is essentially adapting how we portray Onino to the world. The goal is that companies out there, as well as potential partners, as well as you as token holders in the community, get a better picture of what Onino is doing. And all this will not affect what we're doing with the Onigraph and tokenized fundraising. It will just be a different kind of communication, because we as a company as well have to shift from a company that essentially is focused on developing a product and having a community to a product, to a company that has a working product, that has a working blockchain, and that gets found by the right people that need our products. So we will be releasing website updates, maybe even a white paper update. Just stay tuned. We'll update you first, as always. So updates following on this side soon as well. So events, which is a cool thing as well. There will be 2 events, or actually 1 event this month, 1 event the month after. I will be at the Heidelberger Volksimpulse, October the 13th. And in the beginning of November, we have it here already. So people that are joining the Web Summit can note it in their calendars as well. We are going to be at the Web Summit in Lisbon in mid-November. So that's going to be pretty cool. And I think some of the community are going to be there as well. So really looking forward to meet all of you. If you're there, come here, come up to us, chat with us. We're really happy to see you in real life. We've met a couple of Onino community members in the past, but it's really cool always to meet new people. And funny enough, we also have friends that meet people that are in the Onino community. So you are out there, and it's great to meet each other and not just see each other virtually like this or chat, but really see each other, shake our hands, have a little chat, coffee, beer, depending on the time of day. So that are the events, and looking forward to seeing you in Lisbon, hopefully. So I teased it already, the Onino newsletter is free to sign up, newsletter.onino.io. If you want to have the latest and greatest news monthly, feel free to sign up here, and also, of course, the monthly community update. And then Kai touched on it already. We already have a lead on the blockchain architect and protocol developer. Same for sales, marketing, and community building. We've been looking more or less something between passive and actively for them. Those are still the 2 positions we're looking to fill. There's no time pressure here. We really want to nail those hires, but we are still looking for a blockchain architect and protocol developer and a sales, marketing, and community building person. But I think there will be updates on this in the foreseeable future. So now let's jump right into the questions. And there were pretty cool questions again this month. The first question is regarding tokenized fundraising, and it is, are all the projects you have onboarded so far from your close connections only? And this is a yes, but not totally. So it is the closer connections, the Karlsruhe network, through the startup network, but also through the accelerators we went through. And through this, it often happens that someone knows someone that knows someone that knows someone that could need it. So I think to put it easier, we haven't done any active marketing yet, but it's out there on our website and people talk about it. We have talked about it. And at the moment, we have an inflow of enough customers so that we don't think that we'll need to do any more marketing, but there will be more in the foreseeable future as well. So that's clear. And next question is, can projects outside of Germany make use of your service at this stage early? So yes, definitely. The blockchain aspect is something that works everywhere in the world and independently on what your business is from a technical perspective. Of course, each and every business will need a different suite of blockchain tools and maybe a different use of smart contracts, tokens, and all those things. The other thing is the legal aspect. And that's an aspect that can be more complicated. In theory, everything can be done. You need to adhere to legal law, of course. We have specialists who work with for German law, but we will be working with specialists anyhow all those legal and tax services, because we cannot and are not allowed to do that. So yes, definitely, we can work with projects outside of Germany.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alex. Then I'm just going to take over with the following questions. So we also got several questions on the Onigraph, especially on the migration of the token when the time has come, as well as listings. So we're going to go through that one by one. The first one is, will we be migrating to the Onigraph with this first testnet release? I suppose you're aiming at the token with this question. So the preliminary Oni token that we currently have on the BNB Smart Chain will only be migrated to the Onigraph at the launch of the mainnet. The reason for that is quite simple, because migrating the current token, which has a counter value, so to say, to a testnet token, or like a testnet, which has fake tokens on it that don't have any actual value, would just not make any sense. So right now, the token will stay as it is until the mainnet launch. And for the testnet, there will be separate testnet tokens without any real value behind them. Then the second question is, when we eventually migrate to the Onigraph, we'll need a DEX or exchange listings. Exchange listings will come in time, but a DEX is quite important. Will you guys be developing a DEX, even if it was a very basic one for the time being, like with BitTensor's original exchange? So yeah, there are definitely plans to launch a DEX based on the Onigraph, as well as plans to partner up with maybe also existing DEXs to integrate the Onigraph. And also we plan for a simple bridge to make the access to the Onigraph as easy as possible, obviously, because we basically just want to provide a simple mechanism for people to get onboarded to the Onigraph. But the plans regarding a DEX are not ready to be announced yet officially so far. Then the next question is phase 4 and 5. Just for the information, I guess the question asker is referring to our roadmap, are imminent. We need a CEX listing before migrating to the Onigraph. Which CEX will we be looking at to list? I don't think it needs to be a tier 1 listing, but definitely needs to be one that is accessible to a lot of people. MEXC are known for listing good products early, safe to trade might be an option also. So yeah, I think we mentioned it a few times ago. As you might know, CEX listings, especially on tier 1 or 2, are extremely expensive. So we're talking about several hundred thousands up to in the millions when it comes to Binance here. As you know, we are currently fully centering all of our funds towards development. As I mentioned before, we also want to hire more senior developers and blockchain architects with the upcoming launch. So this is not a financial focus for us right now to target these larger CEX listings. Another reason for that is that unfortunately many CEXs often can't quite match up with the promises they make when it comes to community enlargement and increased exposure. So we are quite cautious with that, so to say. But yeah, we're definitely planning for that in case that we have are getting closer to the mainnet launch. And we're currently already in talks with several CEXs and are also, actively comparing the offers, what they have to offer, for what prices, so to say, what is within their packages. We're definitely always open to your proposals if you know of any great and especially serious CEXs which have already launched successful projects. So if you have any offers regarding that, please just let us know in the chat. As I said, we're just currently looking at different offers and comparing what's out there. So give us all the input that you have. Thank you. Then I think we can move on to the next category of questions. Yep, then we have received 3 other very interesting questions, as I think, from different categories. So we just summarized them in miscellaneous questions. So first one is, can you tell us something about the Bitkom partnership? Looks like the bullseye to approach companies. Very good question. I guess the question asker saw the Bitkom banner on our website, just for background information. So first of all, just to give you a little information on that, Bitkom is the General Industry Association of the German ICT sector. And we are, as Onino, a member of the Bitkom. And we are always closely monitoring what's going on in the Bitkom community, are always active in their forums, and also regularly check for any relevant Bitkom events, which could indeed, you're totally right on that, be great for making industry connections. So we're definitely already looking out for that since we are a member in Bitkom. And yeah, it's very interesting because Bitkom is also offering smaller companies a platform to get heard and bring input for regulators and so on. And additionally, it's, as I said, a great platform for exchange between companies in the IT sector. And yeah, I think that is a great addition to our network. So while it's not a direct partnership in that sense, we are definitely a member of this amazing association, which we are quite happy about. And I'm sure that's going to bring us a lot of good connections for for the future, especially once the network has been launched and we can directly onboard companies onto our network. Then the second question goes in a quite different direction, also very interesting. So today's KYC documents also provide a lot of unimportant sensitive information. With the Onigraph Live, would we also improve the KYC process of today with only an on-chain verification where you would only share the required data? How do you think this would be accepted by governments and the public in general? Are you having plans to partner up with someone once the Onigraph is live? So yeah, very good call you're making here. That is basically one of the use cases that we are coming from, digital identities. But yeah, KYC is definitely another topic compared to digital identities, especially when it comes to a regulatory side. So getting back to the question, so KYC process won't directly go hand in hand with the launch of the Onigraph itself, as this is like only the underlying infrastructure, but we're definitely planning to launch a D app in the near future, which is in the field of on-chain KYC once the Onigraph has launched. So this is definitely one of the, so to say, flagship applications that we are planning for the Onigraph once it's launched. And for that, we are also planning to partner up with one or maybe also several professional KYC companies, since, as you have already mentioned, KYC involves a lot of legal expertise to comply with all the governmental requirements and to be publicly accepted. We also noticed that while taking a look at different KYC providers in the jurisdiction there, that is definitely not an easy topic that you can just build overnight. So we're definitely relying on expertise there, and we're definitely trying to partner up. And we actually already had two very interesting talks a few while ago with several large German KYC providers. So yeah, I'm optimistic on that, but definitely something for the future. And we're definitely planning to implement a D app or an application similar to that one mentioned. But just as an additional note for you, because we also dive deep into the whole KYC topic, we know that many of today's KYC processes seem quite cumbersome, so to say, and also seem to use redundant data. But what we also realize that oftentimes this data is in fact actually required for regulatory purposes in the background that are not directly obvious to the user. So for example, let's say anti-money laundering regulations, where you would have to get several data from the user that you don't directly need for the application, but need in case that something is not going right with the user and you have to make some AML checks. Then we have a third question received in this category regarding the migration to Ethereum. So you're going to have to explain this and exactly what it means, migration to Ethereum. Then there's a quote from our blog post. And the question is actually, how can you be a layer 0 on top of the Ethereum blockchain? It doesn't make any sense. Can you please explain what you mean by this and your thought process and why it's a good idea? So I think we have to clarify something here regarding the recent Ethereum migration in quotes. So to clarify, the whole topic only refers to the preliminary only token and its trading pairs. That means the current temporary token that we have currently running on the Binance Smart Chain, which will then later on be migrated to the native Onion network as soon as the mainnet has been launched. So with the migration to Ethereum, we don't mean that we migrate the whole Onino project or the Onino network to Ethereum, but we just mean that we have mostly moved the liquidity pairing for this preliminary only token from BNB liquidity to ETH liquidity. So just like a red Ethereum token can exist on Binance Smart Chain, but a real coin actually lies on Ethereum, this can also be the case in the future with Oni. So just to clarify this totally up, the Onion network will not be built on Ethereum. We're just talking about the preliminary token that we have out there right now until the mainnet has been launched. So there we have just shifted the focus of the liquidity just because we think that you can put more trust into Ethereum than in BNB and the current market circumstances. But this has nothing to do with the fact that we will still be launching our own layer 0 Onino infrastructure in the future. So rest assured, there will be nothing built on Ethereum except for the preliminary token. Okay, hope that cleared it up. It was quite long questions. Hope it wasn't too long for all the listeners. If you still have any more questions in the aftermath, then please just feel free to hit us up in the chat. And yeah, Alex, I think with that we have reached the end of all questions that we have received in advance. So thank you all for listening until this point, and we're now looking forward to any further questions that you could have. You can just write them in the chat if you want to.
So any live questions? Let's see, Elliot is typing. And Tom, of course. I had to bet, I'd have my money now.
It's easier to ask, so I will ask. Perfect, Elliot.
Okay, first question from Tom. Any concerns around the Kadaiko fundraising? No, I wouldn't call it concerns. It was a specifically chosen strategy to do the fundraising while the marketing and not the marketing beforehand. And the goal of this was to find out which marketing measures work and which not, and how to approach them. And Kadaiko has two big marketing partnerships coming up with two great firms that we helped them choose. So I think, yes, you can safely say it took longer than we expected, and definitely longer than the bull run, but I don't think we need to talk about that. But it doesn't mean it's bad. And we see in the business world, in the industry, and in the end users, a very, very big interest regarding Kadaiko. So they definitely need that. And I think it's just maybe a little further stretch to make it appealing into the Web3 world as well. But I think people will start to understand why it makes sense and how it makes sense. It just takes a little more time and education. So I'd say there is no preoccupation, no concern. It just takes a little longer. So I would say that's totally fine. So
when Moon, the classic question.
Hey Al, I'm trying to understand what proof of adaptive coverage means. Can anyone explain? So for the first part of the question, I'll answer it. The second part, maybe Kai is better suited. Essentially, proof of adaptive coverage is a name we chose for our consensus algorithm. And second part of the question, I'll shoot over to Kai.
Yeah, thanks. So I think that the person is basically asking to get a more clear explanation in the white paper. So I'm just trying to keep it not that technical. You can imagine kind of a similar to proof of stake like base algorithm. But what we are basically implementing there, what we're doing differently is that we're not taking simply the stake as a factor to basically determine the decision making, like the block processing to people. Because as you know, I think most of you know how proof of stake works. You're basically being assigned in a random selection. It's assigned who is basically able to produce the next block or allowed to produce the next block. And so to say, this random selection is weighted by the amount of stake that you hold. And this is also one of the largest criticisms when it comes to proof of stake, that it basically favors the richest, so to say, right? Because if you have more stake, if you have put more tokens up as collateral, then also the probability that you are being selected to produce the next block is obviously higher. And this is definitely some, so to say, aspect that is often criticized in proof of stake, and some also it's an aspect that makes it less safe, because it basically just makes you or consensus mechanism, so to say, vulnerable to basically people having too much stake, and that can then, so to say, take over the network. And due to all these drawbacks of proof of stake, we have so to say, developed proof of adaptive coverage, which in easy terms also takes several other factors, like, so to say, your beneficiality for the whole network, like how long have you been part of the network, how fast were your response times, how basically fair have been your contributions to the network. So basically, we're taking a whole bunch of other parameters as well to basically describe how well everything you're doing is for the network, and also take that into account, and not only the financial aspect of how much stake you have put into the network. Hope that was a bit more understandable, non-technical explanation.
Perfect. Thank you, Kai. So Tom has the next question. Can you update us on your relationship with the angel investors you have on board, and if they are still supporting you financially? Yes. So essentially, everything's working out great. We still have our 3 business angels and meeting up with them on a monthly basis. And essentially nothing to add here. So great cooperation. They have very different views that they bring in, which is amazing. And they have a great network. And once we will have a product, as the Onigraph, for example, and companies will be able to start building on it and will start cooperating with us, all this will come into play much more and become much more interesting and relevant to us. Elliot has a question. Can you update us on the funding from it that you had applied for and not received yet? I know you had received one of them already, but you were holding out for another. So regarding that, like you said, we applied for two different things, and one we got the okay, the other one we didn't, which is totally fine. I think a 50% ratio is still very good. So we didn't get this, but it was a supply chain management case, and we will be handling supply chain management cases regardless. So all the work that went into that wasn't for nothing, and it's just preparing us for future projects. So it wasn't even a waste of time. It was just a chance. We took it. We didn't get it, which is totally fine. That's how business rolls.
Yes.
Tom, if you're approaching testnet of the application layer, what part exactly do you want a blockchain expert architect to build or help with? I think Kai, you can explain this better.
Yeah, so basically the focus on what we are looking for here is basically all of the, basically DevOps, so to say, like taking the whole thing you have developed and bringing it into production, especially under security concerns, like basically what has to be taken into account when launching a network when it comes to security, right? Like what is the best security practices when spinning up your node on different servers, so to say, like all of the basically DevOps stuff, like bringing stuff into production, is definitely where we're looking for somebody experienced who has already done that before, just so we can make sure that the launch goes as safe and sound as possible. And there are no complications with that, especially when it comes to security, because this is, in our opinion, definitely something you don't want to mess with. So we're definitely setting the highest priority on security here. And I think nobody can help us there better than somebody who's already set up a successful network themselves.
Perfect. Thank you, Kai. Next one is from Elliot. You mentioned you're looking for VC funding in your latest post. How will this be funded, through Oni tokens or something else? So this funding round will be an equity funding round mostly. So we are offering them shares in the company, the German Onino company, and there will be investors, and we talk to investors that are also interested in tokens. And we will take this allocation from the public sale funding allocation that we have in the tokens, in the tokenomics. So it will be mainly you could say, normal VC funding round where they take equity. But as we are a Web3 company, we are also looking for Web3 funding, and Web3 VCs are also interested oftentimes in tokens. So most likely it will be a combination of both token deal and a equity deal. So Tom, taking on to Elliot's questions, have you had any leads with VCs from the events you have been to? Short answer, yes. I can't say anything else.
That's too bad. Yeah, we're actually very sorry for that. But like, you have to understand, oftentimes, especially when it comes to VCs and connections, like you really, really can't say anything until any deal is closed, just because that would, so to say, not be compliant with their marketing departments, basically.
So another one from Elliot. Previously, you were into meetings and education with banks. Has anything come from that other than networking? Yes, definitely. As you might know, projects take a very long time with banks. But we are talking with their innovation departments, and projects are extremely interesting, but they just take a lot of time. So there's nothing to announce yet, but we are in works with some very interesting things. And also the Heidelberger Volksimpulse we're going to join on the 13th of October. This is also an event where we'll be talking to even more banks, networking, having the opportunity to show them what Onino does on the blockchain side, and also tokenized fundraising. So this is really major and extremely interesting for us. So I don't see anyone else typing. I think this was a great couple of questions. I would say let's wrap it up here. Let's not make it too long. 40 minutes is great. So everyone, thank you very much for your answers, for your questions. I hope you liked our answers. We wish you all the best and have a great evening. See you guys.
See you guys.